Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Olson. I am a shelter program administrator with Host, so I support shelter operations and systems. We will be talking about motivational interviewing today. There's a lot of words on these slides, a lot of kind of heavy things to think about. I also do have a few exercises for us to go through, so I'm going to try to go through some of the wordiness a little quickly and want to do some of our exercises as well within the hour. So if I'm going really fast, I apologize. You will have these slides afterwards. Motivational interviewing is a really big topic and really you learn it as you go. And so a lot of this stuff is kind of academic background, if that, um, you know, is your style. But a lot of it is just around how you are interacting with people in a welcoming and opening, non-judgmental way. So we will just jump right in. So what is motivational interviewing? Or MI. You'll see that a lot in these slides. So MI is a collaborative, person-centered approach to elicit and strengthen motivation for change and improve someone's overall well-being. One really big thing to keep in mind for motivational interviewing is that your client is the expert of their own experiences. So you as staff can work alongside your clients to identify and address barriers to change, but really having your client lead that and really taking ownership of that. It's very collaborative and person-centered, as I mentioned. So really working to understand your client's perspective in a non-confrontational manner is really important. So I'll say this a lot of times this time in this training, but it's really around understanding your own personal biases, how you think someone should act and behave, putting that all aside and really empowering people to make their own decisions. If you think of what motivates you in your personal life, is it really someone telling you exactly what to do? Probably not. It's something that you're really passionate about and really feel in your gut that this needs to happen. So it's very similar to your clients that they, you know, change work comes from inside. You might see a friend really needs therapy. Well, telling them they really need therapy is probably not going to make them go. Someone who really identifies that for themselves and wants to work on themselves and see that as a need, they have a better chance of going to therapy on their own accord. So when to apply motivational interviewing? Really everywhere. You can use it in your personal life, especially at work. Was trying to brainstorm all the things that might happen in your work. So from the get-go of intakes all the way through if de-escalation, if crises happen on site, in your case management and case planning, there's a lot of overlap with MI and trauma-informed care and harm reduction, which we've had trainings on earlier today and earlier this week, and then housing navigation. So something to really keep in mind when it comes to housing navigation and working with people experiencing homelessness and working in a shelter setting. It's great that people get into shelter. Sorry, admitting all. See if they can join. Great. It's for someone who is in this work, ready to take action, wanting to help people, you might want to get people talking about housing right away. People may need some time to adjust to a new shelter setting. And also, housing might not be on someone's radar as their first thing to work on. A lot of people may have other things that they want to work on, employment, maybe just making sure that they go to a doctor on a regular basis. And so, what we think is a good way for someone to help themselves and really want, you might think, why aren't people just chomping on the bit to get housed? It's really the idea of, people are at different stages in their lives. They may need different things when they enter shelter, and being very aware of what that person needs and being, again, person centered, which means that we don't try to fit people into a box. It's not one size fits all, is trying to understand people's needs and how to work with someone who may make those decisions on their own. And this is what I mean when it takes a lot of practice, because um, it's a science and an art. It's never gonna, one thing is not gonna work for one person as it is gonna be for the next person. Okay, so we're getting a little bit more into the nitty gritty. I'll try not to go through all of this word for word, but principles of motivational interviewing. So a lot of it is around having empathy. So empathy is different from sympathy, where, sympathy is where you have similar experiences and really know how someone is feeling. In a lot of cases in this work, it's important to express empathy, where you maybe don't know where someone is coming from. You kind of take their perspective as best as you can. And, it's what it's like to walk in someone's shoes for a mile type of thing. So, really working to show acceptance and understanding, enhancing your client's self esteem to then help facilitate change. We'll talk a lot more around reflective and active listening later on, so I won't touch on that too much right now. And then also, um, developing discrepancy. So this principle involves helping people recognize inconsistencies with their behavior and their goals. So really understanding, identifying, you may be doing this one thing. I also hear that you're, wanting to see your family, and how can we get you there, and have those kind of tough conversations about behavior, but still have an open conversation and let the client really lead that. Um, I have a few more resources near the end of the training around rolling with resistance. So instead of confronting resistance, you really want to prevent a breakdown in communication and allowing the conversation to continue. So if things are getting heightened, emotions, um, whatever situation, it's really important to kind of just keep the conversation going. If someone is really activated, in the de-escalation training, hopefully you'll learn some skills to kind of navigate through all of that, but really showing that no matter what, in a oh yeah, sure, closed caption, great. No matter what may happen, that you stick with someone. That can also be what we talked about in trauma-informed care, of being consistent with communication and expectations, is also just rolling with that resistance, and riding the wave with a client through whatever thing that they're working on. Also, lastly on here, supporting self-efficacy. So motivational interviewing aims to enhance the participants' belief in their ability to change. So it's really helping someone make those kind of light bulb decisions, and realize that, oh, like, I can kind of see a way forward. And again, not really forcing any of that on anyone. You can be firm and, provide that expectation that might have to come up in your work at some times, but really this is around believing that a participant does have the strength and awareness to make their decisions. If anything you take away from this, OARS is a helpful acronym to remember. So OARS, open-ended questions, affirmations, reflections, and summaries. This is kind of the core of what motivational interviewing includes. And so you're asking open-ended questions. A lot of times if you're asking things that are yes or no, that kind of is an end of a conversation. So open-ended questions can allow someone to explore their thoughts, their feelings, and experiences, and maybe get you farther in a conversation than if it were just a lot of yes or no's responses. Affirmations and really validating an individual's strengths, accomplishments, and efforts. So we mentioned this in the trauma-informed care of really celebrating the little wins and big wins that people may do while they're in shelter, really supporting them and understanding that, things are really tough. And through affirmations, you can build their self-esteem and their motivation. Also to reflect. So we'll talk a little bit about this in one of the exercises. Hopefully we'll have time for that. But and this kind of comes with active listening. So you're really listening, you're picking up on what are some themes, how is the person feeling, and then at the end, making sure that they feel heard. So repeating and paraphrasing and using the words that your client has used is really helpful for that person to hear back. And so that's the R. And then summaries is similar where you're recapping the main points of the conversation. You have case conferencing or case management. At the end, you just kind of want to summarize what's going on and recap about, next steps that the client may need to do, what you may need to do as a case manager. So that is all about OARS. Oh no. Okay. So more techniques. This may be some overlap, but focusing on strengths, really seeing where people have, capabilities, if they have resources and assets that you can really build on. Exploring ambivalence. Oh gosh, it's been a long morning so far, if you can't tell. So motivational interviewing really helps individuals to explore their ambivalence. Can't say that word today. It's okay. About change, acknowledging the pros and cons of their current situation and potential changes they might want to make. Also, to develop a change plan, being really focused on what is realistic, achievable for a plan for change. Kelsey may have gone over that in the case management training yesterday, but really understanding where someone is right now and where they would like to see themselves in the future, and really helping them kind of guide in that change. And again, always having that support and follow-up available to people. It's great to have a good case management meeting with someone, but having that follow-up and that follow-through. So your next meeting, you can say, hey, we talked about this one thing, and this is where we are now based on what I said I'd do. Here's where things have shifted. Here's how we progress. And so just having that follow-up, similar to kind of rolling with the resistance, just keep things going and being, communicative. Great. Okay, so person-centered approach. This is very important for motivational interviewing. Some things to help remember to be person-centered is really working on when you're communicating with folks to be genuine and authentic. People will kind of see if you're not doing those things. Oh gosh, my slides. Okay, stop touching the mouse. So the yeah, I think we can all kind of experience this in our own lives where you meet someone and they don't really seem genuine. Building that trust might take a little longer. And so really working on being genuine, authentic, and sincere can help build that trust and rapport with your clients. A big thing about motivational interviewing is around acceptance. So, radical acceptance, you don't need to agree with what is happening, but you accept that this is um, a situation, that this is reality, and accepting that and working with that. And also having a non judgmental environment. So, there's a lot of work around implicit biases that we all have. So, what are some things that you might have? You might have some thoughts around drug use or, you know, who, whatever life choices that you might see in a shelter. A lot of maybe opinions out there of how people should live their lives. This really is not the place to judge anyone. It's really to understand where people are coming from. If you've done the trauma-informed care training, you'll understand that a lot of behavior is potentially rooted with a past experience that was unsafe and traumatic for people. And so really coming up with, and we'll talk about this a little later, but like checking yourself at the door. So any assumptions and biases, you just check at the door, you go in and you have a complete state. Or in social work, we kind of say strengths-based work and working with people's perspective. Also kind of a not knowing perspective of you kind of come in and you really work on having no assumptions about someone and you let that person really explore and provide you that information to plug into the gaps without any of your assumptions. It's a lot harder than you think. That's why it takes a lot of practice and reminders. We mentioned empathy, and we'll go into active listening in a few examples later on. Respect autonomy by acknowledging the individual's rights to make their own decisions, right? So kind of touched on that already. And then maintain a belief that the individual's ability to change and grow is very much real, which can be very difficult if you're seeing difficult behaviors, but that's what we're here to do, is to support folks. And motivational interviewing does take a lot of practice because it can be hard to separate your personal beliefs and really understanding people's ability to change and grow, especially if you kind of see, relapsing, or you have a good day or you have a bad day with a with a client. So okay. So again, this might be repeat for people who are just in the trauma-informed care training, but there is a lot of overlap with motivational interviewing and being trauma-informed. A lot of focus on safety and trust. And so what does that look like, right? So establishing a sense of safety and trust is very crucial when working with individuals who have experienced trauma. To provide safety, we talked about having clear-cut signs, having consistent communication, the layout, there's like physical safety of, how you can lay out your like shelter setting. There's a lot of emotional safety that you can do to really support people and kind of build that trust. Pacing is really important. So you're not just rushing into this, and we'll see this in one of the examples I have for you later on, but really being able to sit with people, go have the client set the pace of the conversation. They may need just a light touch and it's like a quick chat, cool. They may need some more time, and that's okay. So really just focus on where the person is at, let them set the pace, and that kind of comes in with the empowerment. So really focusing on the individual strengths and resources and kind of where they are about wanting to make that change or seeing the next step or two. It might take a little while for them to feel that, but I think building that safety and trust can work up to that empowerment. Empowerment can also help promote resiliency in the face of trauma. So yeah, I have nothing to add there. We also, in the trauma-informed care training, talked about cultural competency. So being aware of and respectful of an individual's cultural background and experiences can help create a more inclusive and supportive environment. So, talking about if you're working for a faith-based organization, um, still allowing and celebrating other religions, understanding if people celebrate other holidays that are maybe not in mainstream, understanding, you know, providing signs and handouts that are in different languages, all that stuff. Also, motivational interviewing to be is really important to be flexible and adaptable. This can help accommodate the unique needs and challenges faced by individuals who have experienced trauma. And then again, ongoing support. So you have the follow-up, you have the consistent communication to support people, and that can help address some of the trauma related barriers that people may encounter. Okay, so I'm gonna stop my okay, actually I'm gonna see how many people are here. We have 32. Okay, so I would love to do a little exercise before we go any further. I know I just spoke a lot and kind of jumbled a lot of things at you. At the end of the day, motivational interviewing, one of the biggest thing is active listening. So I thought we would do this exercise where we will pair up. So you'll break up into a pair. Um, Someone will be a talker and someone will be the listener. The talker will have about 3-4 minutes. Yeah, we have plenty of time to share your thoughts. We're doing something a little lighter. We are, the talker can talk about something that they're looking forward to. It can be for this weekend, for the summer, if you're really hating this winter and cold, or just this year, it's January. Maybe a lot of us are thinking about New Year's resolutions or goals for this year. So what is some stuff that you're looking forward to? You'll have a few minutes to talk about that with your partner. The listener, all you do is really practice your active listening skills. You don't interrupt, you don't interject, you just let the talker share. So then after the 4 minutes, the listener will have time to reflect back and share what you heard from the talker. You can practice your paraphrasing what emotions or thoughts came up from the listener that really caught your attention, and having that time to try to talk back with people, having that paraphrasing and all that stuff. So let me see. Okay, Josh has a partner sitting here with me. Oh boy. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try and make breakout rooms. And this is where you gotta bear with me because I'm doing this on my own. Breakout rooms, wonderful. Automatically, so there are 20. Okay. So I am breaking you up in 10 groups. If you are already in a situation with a partner, how do I do that? I did not think this through. Okay, so we have one. I think I'm just going to break you up all into groups, and then if you're with a partner physically, you two can decide on who will be the talker and listener, and then maybe there's a group of 3, and then you have 2 listeners. Sorry, that's not ideal. I did not think this through. Okay, so I'm gonna break you up in 10 breakout rooms. Create that. Oh, nope, that's wrong. Oh boy, I really should have practiced this. Okay. So Jen, are you with four people?
No, my intention is to say that if you like group our breakout rooms into groups of four, like then if somebody that's with other people doesn't opt into the breakout room, they won't have access to it, but the other two or three people can still get together as
All
a
right.
duct tape hack. There you go.
Hey, let's roll with it. Flying at the seat of my pants. So, okay. Let me see. Okay, that should work. I'll open the rooms. Again, you have a few minutes to talk. So when you join, decide who's the talker to share a little bit, and then the other person will listen. I'll do some prompts if I'm good with timekeeping, but we'll be back in about 6 or 7 minutes. All right, here you go. All right, welcome back. Sorry if that was a little clumsy. If you had a good discussion. Get back to this. Back to this. Okay. Awesome. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to hear how that was for you. What came up? For talkers, what did you notice when you were sharing your thoughts and feelings uninterrupted? What did you feel? What did it feel like to have someone just listen, not have to interject or share too many opinions? Are you all talked out?
This might not be the correct response, but honestly, it was like slightly pressuring. Just because sometimes I didn't have like the next thing to say, and I'm kind of like, well, that's all I have for you.
Yeah, I think I remember doing this and it's like, wow, 4 minutes can kind of feel like a long time to share, but it really I remember it being harder to be the talker than the listener, because the listener, you can just kind of soak it all in. What about other talkers? How did
It
you
was
feel?
nice to just kind of feel heard
Mm,
when sharing thoughts and feelings, and having somebody giving you eye contact and like nodding along and making it clear that they're like listening to you uninterrupted feels really nice.
yeah. Something in the chat. See that. Have one comment, enjoy this exercise. My partner made me feel comfortable sharing and made me want to share more. Yeah, so hopefully, talkers, well, actually, I'm gonna stop there. Want to hear from listeners. What was it like to sit there for 4 minutes and listen? What did you notice in yourself? Did anything come up? What was it like to then share back after the 4 minutes?
This is Orion. I thought it was really interesting to hear Emily's plans going forward into the new year and some of her thoughts around that and concerns that might have come up.
Mm.
We didn't get a chance to have much back and forth, but it did feel good to just listen. And although she felt pressured, it was just really nice to connect with a new face and just gain some insights into her life.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Matt says, it was nice to sit back and listen without having to worry about talking about myself. Yeah, isn't that so? I feel like in a lot of conversations, with coworkers, with friends, with partners or kids, you're always kind of thinking of the next thing to say, or, your mind just kind of wanders and you plan for dinner. Um, but active listening is really being there in the moment and just hearing what people are saying, what's coming up. What do you notice? And people experiencing homelessness, they maybe have experienced years of feeling invisible or not heard or dismissed. And so really having that time to sit back and listen and not even think about yourself and that's hard to do. This is why we're practicing and want to do this exercise of what that feels like for you. Sadly, we don't have time to do this again, so then talkers could be listeners, but hopefully that gives you just a little bit, a little appetizer of what this will be like. And I encourage you, once you do start, I don't know where you are in your work right now, if you've already started in shelter, but if you have a buddy, you can do this exercise anytime. If you're new to a team or a supervisor, this is really a good chance to take turns of what it feels like to be a talker. What does it feel like for you, and how that might feel for people, for your clients, to be able to have that time to share. And then listeners, what is it like to listen and hear about, Orion was saying about like, you could hear of what was exciting and you could hear what were some concerns. So kind of hearing those little nuances with your clients. And as I mentioned earlier, motivational interviewing can really occur anywhere and everywhere. So these skills can last forever and you can do it wherever. So I have another example. I hope you've seen Inside Out. I saw this and I don't think I have to get out of here. Hold on, technology again. Okay, hopefully this works. This is a really quick clip, but this is a really great example about pacing. So hopefully, and empathetic listening, as the title of the video says. Hopefully this works. Let me know if you can hear it. Good?
We can't hear it.
Okay. Thank you. Let me do something. Oh, y'all, I don't know why I decided to do all this stuff on my own. Okay. I had all these ideas. We'll figure this out. Okay. Audio. I may need to do this. Yes, no.
Finally can't be done with me.
It's coming through slightly.
Okay. If this doesn't work, I'll just put the clip in the chat and then you can watch this later.
Riley, I go to the
That's
moon.
good.
Finally can't be done with me.
Hey, it's gonna be okay. We can fix this. We just need to get back to headquarters. Which way to the train station?
Had a whole trip planned for us.
Hey, who's ticklish, huh? Here comes the tickle monster. Hey, Bing Bong, look at this. Oh, here's a fun game. You point to the train station and we all go there. Won't that be fun? Come on, go to the train station.
I'm sorry they took your rocket. They took something that you loved. It's gone forever.
Sadness. Don't make him feel worse.
Sorry.
It's all I had left of Riley.
I bet you and Riley had great adventures.
Oh, they were wonderful. Once we flew back in time, we had breakfast twice that day.
Sounds amazing. I bet Riley liked it.
Oh, she did. We were best friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm okay now. Come on. The train station is this way.
Yeah. Okay.
So hopefully you were able to hear that. Um, with some context, so you may have seen joy, the positive emotion, really wanting to hurry the process up. And that didn't really help the situation. Being Bong, who is experiencing a lot of sadness that their relationship with the main character, Riley, the girl, their relationship is maybe ending, as he's a visible friend. You know, feeling a lot of sadness and seeing that sadness, this was a very like quick flip, but being able to be with someone holding those emotions, tough, you might see a lot of sadness in your work. But being able to be with someone during that not only helps them kind of work through that emotion, so you can tell at the end, like, okay, I feel better, and here's the train. Now, maybe move on. Did anything, I know I didn't give too many prefaces around this, but what else came up for anyone? And you can share in the chat or come off mute. Maybe I already just explained it all. Okay, cool. But hopefully that helped, to see, there can be a lot of excitement with getting people into shelter, and you want to help and you have an agenda, and just see how Bing Bong was just not responsive. Only responsive after he felt heard and taken care of. Yeah, Matt, good point. It's good to have a full range of emotions. Emotions are okay, they're very human. And part of motivational interviewing is meeting where people are. And so a lot of that is, matching their tone, their pace, not forcing them to just move on to the next thing if they're really stuck and feeling something, right? Okay. So shared a lot of words, did some exercises. Last thing, as a reflection, thinking of a time where you had felt maybe disrespected, really sad and ignored or dismissed. Really feeling like you were forced to do something that you really didn't want to do or didn't feel ready to do. Maybe you didn't feel prepared or you didn't know what the next steps were. How did you feel in that moment? And you don't have to share. This is more just a reflective time. Doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great to be talked down to, talked like you're a child and maybe don't understand things. So motivational interviewing is really about treating others as you would like to be treated, however cheesy that might sound. In our exercises, you could see how it felt to talk to someone and not feel judged or interrupted or rushed, although maybe rushed because maybe 4 minutes wasn't long enough for you. And in that exercise, some of you had experience just to listen and be with someone and not feel like you had an agenda. Just wanted to hear what people were looking forward to. So hold on to those moments, to how that felt. Hopefully that helped. There's a lot a lot around motivational interviewing. We went through a lot of the principles, OARS, techniques, but really it's around feeling and being human with people. So really just want to make sure that at the end of the day, you know to check your biases, leave your assumptions at the door, give space for people's perspective, let your clients lead the way. You know, you're there to help and guide and document and all those other things that you're probably asked to do. But motivational interviewing is really around listening to people and letting them dictate their story, their decisions. So hopefully this is helpful. This was not meant to, you know, be the one and done training, but hopefully a good starter about how to understand motivational interviewing and see what other skills and techniques you may want to incorporate in your work. We will have these slides available at some point, I think, on our website. So here's a few more resources, a lot of other training. Really recommend looking into these. And this is just a quick, honestly, Google search around motivational interviewing. So there's a lot out there. And depending on which agency you're working with, they probably will have additional training for you as well. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. We have a little bit of time.